Greetings, YouTube. Welcome to Classic Rock and the Bible. And today we are going to review the much reviewed song All Along the Watchtower by Bob Dylan. But instead of doing a typical review, we are going to break it down line by line and scripture by scripture as much as we can. Not every line will have a scripture to it, but most of them will. And we're going to get to the real meaning behind this message. Now, just so you know, for all you hardcore fans out there, I'm not hating on Bob Dylan. I have to say this all the time because people get very passionate and they think that you're attacking the artist. I'm not in no way attacking the artist. Matter of fact, I'm making these videos because I grieve for the artist. I don't know if you remember the 2020 interview with Bob Dylan. If you go back and watch that complete interview and pay attention to everything that he's saying and his facial expressions, you'll see that Bob Dylan is very remorseful, and that he's really, in his own words, he's holding up his end of the bargain that he made. But he really wants out. I say all this to say that if you really care about him, you will pray for him and pray that his soul gets delivered out of the debacle that he's gotten involved in. So with that being said, we're going to start with Bob Dylan's All Along the Watchtower. This is Classic Rock in the Bible.
Okay, first line is, there must be some way out of here.
Okay, so right off the beginning, it says there must be some kind of way out of here. So what is the out of here? Once you start to gain biblical understanding, you'll understand that you are inside of a matrix. Also, what's known as a tesseract, which is a cube inside of a cube. And Satan has many names, that reference the cube, like Jack or Jack in the Box, Pandora's Box, or Pandora's Labyrinth. So Jack has found himself, Jack being Satan, has found himself trapped in this box. So as we progress through the song, you're going to see it's a conversation between Satan and Jesus, and Satan has found himself trapped in this box, and so he starts with the question with the statement that there must be some kind of way out of here, said the Joker to the thief, and we're going to go through that. So do we have a scripture for that first line?
We've got two scriptures. First one is out of Luke chapter 10 verse 18, and that reads, "And he said unto them, I beheld Satan as lightning fall from heaven."
Okay, so Satan has fallen from heaven. He's gotten cast out. Now he's trapped in the box, or on this earth, or the tesseract. He's trapped. Speaking of tesseract, if you watch the Avengers movie, I think it's the second one with Loki. He's holding the cube. That's a tesseract. Well, Satan is now cast out of heaven and is trapped in this box. So he wants out. Let's continue.
Okay, then the second scripture is from Revelations chapter 18 verse 2. "And he cried mightily with a strong voice, saying, Babylon the great is fallen, and is become the habitation of devils, and the hold of every foul spirit, a cage of every unclean and hateful bird."
Okay, so notice in the scripture, it's a cage. Now that the world's going to fall apart, nations are going to fall apart, and it's become a cage for every hateful and unclean bird. Satan is now trapped in this cage, and he can't get out. All right, let's continue.
All right, so the second line is, "Said the Joker to the thief."
Okay, so to further prove that this is a conversation between Satan and Jesus, we're going to establish who the Joker is and who the thief is.
All right, and we're going to reference Matthew chapter 24, verses 43 through 47. That reads, "But now this, that if the good man of the house had known in what watch the thief would come, he would have watched, and he would not have suffered his house to be broken up. Therefore be ye also ready, for in such an hour as ye think not the Son of Man cometh. Who then is faithful and wise servant, whom his Lord hath made ruler over his household, to give them meat in due season? Blessed is that servant, whom his Lord, when he cometh, shall find so doing. Verily I say unto you, that he shall make him ruler over all his goods."
Okay, so in that scripture, it says, "Know this, the good man of the house." The good man of the house, despite what most people will think, if you're actually paying close attention to it, the good man of the house is Satan. And the reason why it calls him the good man of the house is because this is his house. He's the God of this world. And if he'd had known his house was going to be broken into, he would have watched. So now Jesus is telling his disciples to make sure that you watch, so that you know when I come. See, because Jesus has to break into the house, redeem his people, and then escape with them. And that's exactly what's going to happen. So this is how we can establish that Satan is the Joker and the thief is Jesus Christ, or the Christ. I prefer saying the Christ, because Jesus is not his real name, but we're going to stay on track with this. Okay, let's continue the next line.
"There's too much confusion. I can't get no relief."
All right. So Satan's saying there's too much confusion. He can't get any relief. Why can't he get any relief? Well, we're going to look at the prophecy. God has given a prophecy about what he's going to do to Satan. And let's hear what it says.
Okay, that's out of Ezekiel chapter 28, verse 15 and 16. And that reads, "Thou wast perfect in thy ways from the day that thou wast created, till iniquity was found in thee. By the multitude of thy merchandise they have filled the midst of thee with violence, and thou hast sinned. Therefore I will cast thee as profane out of the mountain of God, and I will destroy thee, O covering cherub, from the midst of the stones of fire."
All right, so this is God giving a future prophecy to Satan, telling him that what he's going to do with him. And as Satan falls, he loses abilities. And we're going to bring that out in another line. So this is a future prophecy about Satan falling. And as he falls, he won't be able to escape from the earth. It'll become a cage for him, as we brought out earlier. Okay, next line.
Okay, we've got a second scripture for that, and that's Isaiah 14, verse 16, and that reads, "They that see thee shall narrowly look upon thee, and consider thee, saying, Is this the man that made the earth to tremble, that did shake kingdoms?"
Now notice this. It refers to Satan as a man, because now he's being reduced to the very thing that he did not want to serve in the first place. And he's going to be laid out in front of kings and people, and they will look at him and say, "Is this the man that caused the earth to tremble?" See, he's being reduced to a man, and he will not be able to escape this planet, or this realm, whatever you want to call it. Guys, if I'm slurring my words, forgive me. I'm battling a severe toothache. So please pray for healing for me. But this is where we see Satan trapped as a man. All right, next slide.
Okay, next line is, "Businessmen, they drink my wine."
Okay, businessmen drink my wine. So why is Satan saying that this is his wine? Um, the answer to that is simple. It is his wine. He owns the earth. Satan has legal ownership of the earth. If you ever ask yourself why there's so much bad in the world, it's because Satan is the god of this world, and the scripture that we're getting ready to use will bring that out.
All right, and that's 2 Corinthians chapter 4, verse 4, and that reads, "In whom the God of this world hath blinded the minds of them which believe not, lest the light of the glorious gospel of Christ, who is the image of God, should shine unto them."
Okay, so see, Satan is the god of this world. Now, doesn't mean that he's above the actual Most High. The Most High is still his boss. But as far as rulership, Satan is the god of this world, and that's why things are not the way they should be. And this is why God admonishes his people to come out of her, to come out of this place, so that they don't partake in this world's punishment. And that's the whole point of this. Bob Dylan was just being used to channel this message. And that's one of the things I want to point out too. Don't think of this song as good or bad. Just think of it as a message. Take the information and understand what's being said here. Don't just sing it freely. Pay attention to what's being said, and you'll get the message, and you can use the message to your benefit or to help wake other people up. And that's the goal of this video, is to wake people up and let them know what's happening around them, to pray for people like Bob Dylan, who needs his soul redeemed, because this is a real war that we're in, a real spiritual war. All right, let's continue.
All right. "Plowmen dig my earth, none of them along the line know what of any of its worth. No reason to get excited, the thief he kindly spoke."
Okay, so notice it says the thief be kindly spoke. He spoke nicely to Satan and told him that there's no reason to get excited. So why did he do that? Well, we're going to go look in the book of Jude, and just so you can get an understanding, the book of Jude is the Acts of the Apostates, just like the book of Acts is the Acts of the Apostles. So understand that there's a method here that God has, that is, you don't rail against dignities, and we're going to pull that out in this next scripture.
All right, and like you said, that's Jude chapter 1, verse 9. That reads, "Yet Michael the archangel, when contending with the devil, he disputed about the body of Moses, durst not bring against him railing accusations, but said, The Lord rebuke thee."
So he said he dares not bring accusation against him, but the Lord rebuke him. Michael did not say a bad word against Satan, because there's an order in heaven. There's a rule that God won't tolerate the angels talking bad to each other. You don't rail against dignities, and that does include Satan. Satan has been given power and given leadership. So when you ever wonder why the world is so bad, and you say to yourself, like, why does God allow this to happen? Well, there are billions of angels watching God and watching what he's doing, and they're amazed by it. And he doesn't just wield power willy-nilly. He has an order in how he does things, and it would be unjust for him to allow Satan to have the power that he has, and then not deal with that power in an orderly fashion. So from our point of view, it takes time, and we have to wait out that time. From God's perspective, it's a moment. So understand that you don't rail against dignities. You you rebuke Satan, you rebuke Satan, God rebukes Satan, and let it be that way. Okay?
All right. There are many here among us who feel that life is but a joke. But if you and I, we've been through that, and this is not our fate. So let us not talk falsely now. The hour is getting late.
Okay, so he says, let us not talk falsely. The hour is getting late. Now, there's our timeline. Jesus has to leave this conversation because they have future prophecies to fulfill, and we're going to bring that out.
All right, and that's 1 Thessalonians chapter 5, verse 4. That reads, "Ye are all the children of light, and the children of the day. We are not of the night nor of darkness."
Okay, so just keep in mind, we are not children of darkness.
Okay. All along the Watchtower, princes kept the view.
Okay, so we're going to reference, let's see, it's Genesis 6:4.
Yes.
Okay.
And that reads, "There were giants in the earth in those days, and also after that, when the sons of God came in unto the daughters of men, and they bare children to them. The same became mighty men, which were of old, men of renown."
Okay, now I want you to keep in mind something. These are angels, and angels are always described in the masculine. Anytime you read an angel's name or the attributes of angels, they're in the masculine, male. There are two angel-type creatures mentioned in the Bible that are female, but they're not in heaven. So these sons of God saw that the daughters of men were fair, and they took wives of whomever they chose. And so now God is battling a genetic problem. To get a better understanding of that, you can read the book of Enoch, and it'll expound on that. And I recommend you reading all of the biblical extra biblical texts and the original canon just for understanding. Don't read it to become a Christian. Just read it to gain the understanding, and however you're moved from that point is up to you. But know that that's what's happening here. It's a genetic battle.
Okay, and then we're going to move on to the next verse, which is, "While all the women came and went, barefoot servants too. Outside in the distance, a wild cat did growl. Two riders were approaching."
All right, so let's figure out who the two riders were.
All right, and that is Revelation chapter 11, verse 3. And that reads, "And I will give power unto my two witnesses, and they shall prophesy 1,260 days, clothed in sackcloth."
All right, so there's your two riders, which is the two witnesses, which this is also a future prophecy that hasn't happened yet. Now let's see the wind begin to howl. Let's see what this wind is.
All right, and that's the book of Ephesians, chapter 2, verse 2. And that reads, "Wherein in time past ye walked according to the course of the world, according to the prince of the power of the air, the spirit that now worketh in the children of disobedience."
So there's a spirit that works in the children of disobedience. That's Satan. Satan is known as the prince of the power of the air, and he's now in a fallen state, and that's why he begins to howl. The prince of the power of the air is howling because he knows that his time is up. So, is there more? Was that?
That's it. That's the last line.
Okay. So, there's our review of All Along the Watchtower. We would ask that you would consider these words, go back and watch this video, match up the scriptures to the lyrics, and get the original context to keep it in context. and get the answers for yourself so that you know what's happening, that you can follow it and you can make an informed decision on your fate and your future. And with that being said, this is Classic Rock and the Bible. Shalom.